So everybody's posting on the internet right now. I met my younger self for coffee. She walked in wearing capri leggings.
Oh, God. I would tell him to chill on the LA Looks hair gel. This stuff had the consistency of almost like a sunburn aloe vera cream.
Yes.
People would be like, oh, where do you get your hair product? And I'd be like, Winn-Dixie.
God, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, your will be done.
Yeah.
And when that is the heart posture, like palms up, okay, God, I trust you more than I trust myself, then sometimes things go differently.
Time to love again. My time for love is here.
Welcome back to Quality Time with Gabe and Grace.
I'm Gabe.
And I'm Grace, and this is episode 4.
Another one.
We're here tonight in our cozies.
That's right.
Because you know what? It's all about sustainability. And we're going to make a podcast episode every week.
Yeah.
We're coming in our jammies.
The fits need to chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I only have so many things in my closet. So.
I mean, we got to keep it real. Who's dressing up these days?
No one.
Work from home.
Yeah.
Parent from home.
Mm-hmm. I have spit up on basically all my t-shirts. So you just
don't look
have
too close.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything on the screen.
The black light is telling me this shirt's not the one. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I roll when I'm picking my outfits.
I feel you. I
Mm-hmm.
feel you. Well, I'm excited to get into another episode.
Yeah. Before we do, if you are listening, watching, especially on YouTube, and you have not subscribed yet, we would ask that you do so, because then you'll get notified every time a new episode drops.
Yes.
Subscribe on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. You'll just kind of be the first in line to see when we are launching a new episode. And it's just it's awesome to see some of the followers and the subscribers and all that kind of, come along. So I'm just really excited. And I just wanted to say thank you. And let's keep it up.
Thank you so much. I'm stoked. I looked yesterday and I think there's 200 subscribers.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, come on.
At the time of this recording, it could be more.
Don't
by the time
despise those humble beginnings.
Preach.
No, it's pretty cool just to see people
seriously.
hopping on and watching, and also appreciate those who have left a review too. That was kind of neat to see.
That's another cool thing
this week. So
that'd be great.
Thanks everybody. Let's just kick off with our favorite little segment that we have made a little staple. And that's quality over quantity. If you're new to the show, that is us just talking about some moment, some item, some experience from our week that really stands out. And it's quality over quantity, meaning one of those things gets shared, not multiple, just one. Last week we were kind of towing the line, if you will. But we'll stick to just one this week.
And I did get a little bit of feedback about mine being low quality. And by feedback, I'm really talking about my co-host here. So I'm going to try to up that.
It's got to be something good.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Well, should I go first again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, this is not something that I just experienced last week. This is kind of in the last few months of life.
Okay.
And I know I told you one option, and I thought, maybe let me just throw her for a loop and pick another. So this is going to be the first for you.
I like it.
So here's the thing. I don't drink enough water. This is kind of a known fact about
true.
Gabe. And I
Mostly just bubbly water.
And so that is the segue into this week's quality over quantity item.
Of course it is.
Is sponsored by Saratoga Sparkling Water.
Come on.
Dude, it is the only brand that is worth buying for sparkling water.
We like to call it spicy water.
Yes, spicy water.
It's got a nice little kick to it.
Yeah, the bubbles. Honestly, Saratoga, that's why I like it. I feel like the carbonation is just a click higher than your LaCroix or whatever. And that was kind of my gateway drug, because my whole life I had never really liked carbonated water. I grew up drinking soda in the house. And so when I would drink, a LaCroix or a Pellegrino or whatever, I'd just be it's disgusting. What didn't finish about this, in the factory before they shipped it out. But I don't know, for whatever reason, you got me on it, I feel like.
Yeah, a few years back.
And now it has a kung fu grip on my life. I cannot. So basically, it's created another problem where now I don't drink actual uncarbonated water. And especially, dude, out of the glass bottles. And Publix was BOGO this week. Come on,
dude. The BOGO will get you.
It'll get you every time. So, Yeah, Saratoga sparkling spicy water is it just it does me right.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah, quality. It's the best.
But you're really hitting the quantity too, because you're you're knocking through those cases.
Yeah,
like
and I'm at the point where like I can sort of forecast the usage in the house, because you were kind of like laying off them for a while.
I was,
and I was enjoying that because I had them all to myself. Yeah, but you've been kind of like breaking into my stash, and so I'll just kind of do the math, and I'm looking at the calendar, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna need more by this date, so I'll just like preemptively go to Publix and just crush a couple more and show up, and you're like, you went to Publix and you didn't get like the things we needed. Like we ran out of this, that, and the other. You just got spicy water. And I'm like, yo, priorities, girl. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So. Well, speaking of Publix, I mean, not to dog on Publix, but we usually get Publix bagels.
Ooh.
You know, because who doesn't like a little bagel sandwich in the morning?
Yeah.
But this week, I decided to try a little internet recipe.
This was so good.
I was really combing through the recipes, but I ended up landing on 1 cup flour, 1 cup blended, lactose-free cottage cheese.
Okay. I didn't even know that was in there.
A teaspoon of salt and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Put it all together, egg wash that bad boy.
Yes.
Put a little everything bagel seasoning on it.
From Trader Joe's. Shout out to last week. Still waiting on that.
Or whatever you like. I did one with sesame seed, but you bake those babies up at 375 for about 20-25 minutes, and you get yourself some fresh homemade bagels that are high in protein.
That's true.
So we made those this week, and never
stupid.
Getting those Publix bagels again. I'm sorry.
That literally came out of our mouths after we're eating it. We're like, who even likes Publix? You know?
Yeah, there's nothing like a good fresh bagel, and this recipe couldn't get any easier. So I dropped it right here. You heard it first, ladies and gentlemen.
Unedited.
You can have that recipe and enjoy it just like we did, because it's going to be a new thing for us every week.
It was so good.
It was so good.
And if you leave it, here's a little pro tip. If you leave it in a little longer, it can kind of like crisp up. It was giving like Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit vibes. It was like, had this crunch that just...
Yeah, we kind of like went a little over in the oven, so that's why I gave you guys a range.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad.
You know what I washed it down with?
Saratoga?
That's spicy water. Yeah, it's good.
So that's quality over quantity this week. Yes. 1 recipe and 1 spicy water recommendation.
However, I would not be mad at like a quantity of 100 of those bagels. We actually said that. We're like, we should make like a crap ton next time and then just like freeze them.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. The recipe makes 4 for those of you who are jumping on the train. True. That's that. Let's get into this week's topic, which is one I'm really excited about because we're just sort of jumping on the internet fad trend train. So everybody's posting on the internet right now, I met my younger self for coffee. She walked in wearing capri leggings.
Oh God.
You know, you describe yourself and you're like, she ordered a
caramel
small
macchiato.
iced coffee with a splash of soy.
Yeah.
And I ordered a hot almond milk latte. Anyways, so you describe your younger self. And
she said she was tired. And I punched her in the face because she's not tired.
Yeah. So you describe meeting with your younger self. Yeah. But that gave us an idea to actually talk about advice or something we would tell our younger selves. Yeah. And we talked about, you know, coming at this topic more so not from like a regretful standpoint, because I think that you can do this and be like, I wish I did so many things differently in life. And I find that to be a little depressing to kind of like go into that regret mode in life. It's like life happened, okay? And God is a redeemer.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, what would you say? Because time has gone by and hopefully you're walking around with a little more wisdom in your back pocket. You know, the Bible talks about gray hair being this crown and coming from a righteous life. And hopefully as we get older and older and we get more and more grays, we're carrying more and more wisdom.
Sure.
So I hope that this type of conversation today is not only reflective for us, to think about, what we've learned over time can be kind of, I think, healthy to look back and think from a new lens. But also, I think as parents or new parents, we're in this mode of like, we have a lot of conversations about, what do we want to do differently with our child, thinking about the lives that we've lived thus far. So I think it's kind of a helpful reflection point.
Totally. Yeah. Especially on that aspect of parenting, like there's an exciting opportunity here to go through this exercise and envision our younger selves and what we might tell them. But like you said, I'm actually really excited, especially because obviously younger me is a young dude and we are raising a young dude. And it was like kind of a fun dual exercise to see like, what would I tell our guy, like as he's hitting these age milestones. And so,
yeah, I love that so much. So let's get into, we actually divided it into 3 different segments. We said, what would we tell our 13-year-old self, like sort of representing entering into adolescence? What would we tell our 18-year-old self entering into adulthood? And then what would we tell our 30-year-old self? It's kind of like the real adulthood. And so let's go through each of those, but I think maybe we can bounce back and forth. I have like a little list here. So let's go ahead and get started with that 13-year-old self. So my first one is, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. And I chose that because as I was reflecting on my teenage years, I think that I oftentimes did things not because I wanted to do them or I was interested in doing them. It was more so like I was trying to prove a point. So maybe taking things people said to me and thinking like, that's not who I am. Let me show you otherwise. And so I just think that that's a good piece of advice. Like, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
That's good.
If that's your motive, check it and think about why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's good. I went a little bit more silly for this first one just because the year was 1999 when I was 13. And this was kind of a big fear for me. So I would just tell myself, dude,
year.
Y2K is going to be a big, juicy nothing burger. So you're good. Like, you can leave your computer plugged in that night. Like, nothing's going to explode. And I would probably combo that also with like, dude, chill. Jesus is not coming back at midnight. Because those were kind of the two like common, theories or like fear mongering myths that we all believed, especially in the Christian circles. We're like, oh my God, the world's going to end. The rapture is happening. And I was like, I'll never get married. So I would, first off, I'd be like, yo, we're good. And then, I'd get to the rest of my list.
That's good. I love that. That's important. Okay. My next one is watch what you watch. What I mean by that is I also was just thinking, I watched a lot of really stupid TV. And I think though that's a really important time of your life where your brain's sort of developing and you're considering how you view the world and how you think about certain things. And gosh, I just needed to shut MTV off.
I was not allowed to watch that.
Say What, Karaoke, Real World, all the things. TRL. There's a soft spot in my heart for some of these nostalgic TV shows, totally. But at the same time, I think I didn't gain anything from all the hours I spent consuming garbage television. So watch what you watch. Also, just from a spiritual standpoint, I think about your eye gates and your ear gates. It's just about being sensitive to what we let in. And I really do think a lot of things I watched, movies, television, like gave me a frame of reference as a youth, if you will. And it probably wasn't the healthiest. So
I gotcha. Okay, so on a sliding scale of silliness to serious, now this is on like maybe on the middle of the spectrum. Still kind of silly, but
like when you keep it light.
Something I really needed to tell 13-year-old me. So I would tell him to chill on the LA Looks hair gel.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember LA Looks?
Yes.
Shout out to all the millennials who remember that brand.
Yeah.
This stuff had the consistency of like almost like a sunburn aloe vera cream.
Yes,
like,
so sticky.
But with like a blue dye or like a green dye or what, you kind of chose your color.
Yes, or purple.
Purple. And It was so thick, and I laid it on so thick.
Me too.
Basically this was like quantity over quality for Gabe at 13. Like Definitely. It was just like caked in. I was so self-conscious of my hair because I have this like thick Cuban afro, and at the time it was so curly that I was always trying to tame it. So I was like, just all the things. So basically, that wasn't a good look. It's kind of like people would be like, oh, where do you get your hair product? And I'd be like, Winn-Dixie. Like it was just a cheap, low quality product. So I would just tell me, dude, just go natural, just trust me. Okay. Like little water goes a long way.
Yep.
You don't
Maybe
need
a little hairspray.
Yeah. A little spray. You don't need to kind of build a helmet every morning before school.
I definitely did the same exact thing. I mean, it was either Depp or LA Looks.
That's hilarious.
And it was like a huge glob on the hand and just unevenly distributed across the ponytail, as slick as can be. Yeah. And I almost like loved the way it hardened, and I kind of like play with it.
Oh yeah. And then when you would like, exactly, when you like touch it, it would like break and disintegrate into like small particles. It looked like dust. It was... Oh, it can't be good for you, like to ingest that, but we put it all over ourselves. So yeah.
You were ingesting it?
Well, like just the smell, It's like not like eating it,
but
okay. But maybe. I mean, I might have been curious. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. Very relatable. Okay, my next one is cherish learning. A little corny.
Yeah, you would say that.
But as I reflected on those teenage years, I thought, I really didn't see the value in education the way I do now. I mean, I was a good student, but it was like through the loopholes and the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
And so I just like the idea of grasping more fully how important it is to learn and set yourself up for learning later in life. I think I really had to like learn how to learn when I got to college and like teach myself how to study and stuff. So I just think that you can actually pick up some really important things as a young person in school. I mean, you could run with some things like a language or, even a musical instrument or something like that. But like, if you really value that time of learning, it's a special time in life. So I view it like that. I hope my child is like pumped on school education because it is really important. It's a sweet thing to learn.
Definitely.
And a privilege to have an education.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. All right. So this is my last one, but it's more serious. So I would encourage myself to have better role models. I would help younger me kind of recalibrate his value system of what's cool. Who's worthy of admiring, what's going to actually matter in the prime of your life. And, we let out with the fact that like, this is, leading into your full sort of adolescent phase. And the fact that high school would be right around the corner, I would encourage me to stay true to my faith. Your brain is so malformed or just like not formed yet in those high school years or preteen years where, man, anyone can tell you anything. And if you're not grounded, you're just like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Or, cave to any peer pressure. And I did feel, looking back that like, that was an area where, I mean, yes, we were involved in the church and I was in youth group and, had some good people in my life. But I think I was always curious about like, well, what's over that fence over there, like right. Figuratively speaking. And I would just tell myself like, the people that you have in your life, the people that you've admired to this point, like those are great people. Those are worthy role models. Don't be looking over here, over there, or letting, MTV culture kind of finish raising you. Yes. Stay true, honor your parents, because that season, especially I think for a young man, as you're, a boy turning into a man, there's just such a pivotal maturation process where, you're kind of forming crucial values and beliefs about the world and about, again, if you're a believer, about the Lord and, how you're relating, to the world and the worldview that you're taking on. There's just so much formation that's happening. And I would just encourage him to make sure that you're being formed in the right image and not that of the world. So, yeah.
That's really good. I actually find a mentor as well.
Nice.
Because I think in your teenage years, you might not really be like wanting to listen to your parents a whole lot. And, some of that is just, You could be a great kid and you still are probably struggling a little bit to really like want to sit at your parents' feet at that age. So yeah, I think a mentor would be awesome. I don't think I really had that. And like you said, there was probably people available for that, but I just wasn't seeking that out. And I think that you could save yourself so much trouble.
Sometimes you don't recognize them as a mentor, even though they are, you know, and you're kind of going kicking and screaming, you know, because you don't realize what they're trying to instill in you.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's really important, mentorship at that age. And my last one was get outside more. Kind of coming back to watching all that TV. I did go outside because I have vivid memories of putting baby oil all over my body.
Oh, this just got
the beach.
This is a family show. Oh my God.
No, listen. Burning at the beach.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's Siesta Key culture,
that was
dude. We were all about the tan.
Okay. Yeah. It was a thing to put baby oil on.
Yeah.
To tan.
To tan.
Okay. Yeah. It was like your parents weren't going to buy you those, you know, banana boat, brown spray bottle things.
So
it was like put baby oil on your body, put lemon juice in your hair to get that natural highlight going. And just bask, baby. So I was outside doing that. Yeah. But I should have been outside doing other things. No, I think about like just the standard like healthy advice of like adulthood. And we should be getting time outside. Yeah. I just could have been outside more doing
For context,
fun things.
We went to high school in the Sarasota, like Siesta Key area. So beach culture was everything. So that's the other thing I would have said. Like the second I walk in, I would have just yanked the white puka shell necklace right off of my neck and just like thrown it at him. Just been like, no.
Yeah. Throw out the baby oil. Yeah. Put on some sunblock, girl.
Yeah.
You'll thank yourself
this like
later.
Yeah, this like poser surfer culture. It's like, dude, the water is like, there's no waves. It's flat. It's like bath water on the Gulf Coast. Like, get out of here. What do you think you are?
Oh, good times. Yeah. That's all I've got. But I think there's some common threads there between the two of us.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about, being a 90s kid. So let's move to early adulthood. Yeah. So 18. You want to kick us off?
Yeah. So again, a little bit more on the serious side. You know, 18 is such a pivotal year. You're kind of legally an adult. And so what I was telling young Gabe is that you're going to start making decisions over the next few years that are going to exponentially impact your life, good or bad. And this is the time to kind of, as a continuation of the first conversation, is to seek wisdom, to identify mentors. That's what I'd written down, and ask them good questions. And then the last piece, this was all kind of like in one block here, was read more. You know, I think, again, at that age, you're probably watching a lot of the things that you're learning, you know, which, again, is not necessarily bad, you know, in context. But to your point, it's like MTV or VH1 or this or that or movies or whatever. Yeah. You know, I just feel like I was getting a lot of my knowledge from the world, you know, from just like, you know, staring at a screen or something like that. Yeah. And it wasn't until a little bit later in my 20s that I started really getting passionate about learning and understanding things, especially in business or, you know, there's some pivotal books that like changed my life, especially books on faith and leadership that came kind of mid to late 20s. And I just wish I would have like gotten a little bit earlier start. Yeah, when I was 18.
That. I am similar to you in that my first one was ask more questions and take time to listen. Yeah. I think as I heard this the other day and I was like, that is so true. In your 20s, you think you know everything. You really do. Yeah. And you don't know much. And so I just think coming at life humbly and asking questions, receiving advice and not thinking I've got it all figured out. Yeah. I also just jotted down a scripture, Proverbs 4:7. It says, the beginning of wisdom is this, get wisdom. Though it costs all you have, get understanding. And so I think it's like a call to action of like, go get it. You know, it doesn't just come to you. You need to go seek it out. Yeah. And so I would do more. I would tell young 18-year-old Grace
Yeah.
to seek out that wisdom more.
Sure.
Not just in searching things out on your own, but talking to people who have gone before you. I think I had like a hyper independence of like seeking wisdom in maybe God and my own study and prayer and things like that. There's things I think I did well, but I think I could have done better by really valuing like people available to me that went before me, 10 years ahead of me, that kind of thing.
So my next one is, I would go back to 18-year-old Gabe, or, whatever age there in the early 20s, and I would introduce him to Kendrick Lamar, specifically the song Be Humble. Sit down. And kind of off of yours, I would definitely put an emphasis on the power and virtue of humility. Yeah. Because to your point, you're just hyped up on your own, your own supply around that age.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage myself to, listen, to think before I spoke, to ask more questions, and to really recognize that the people who have influence, the influence that you want, the people that are really worth admiring, as I kind of said in my, to my 13-year-old self, like those men are humble. Those men are, maybe soft-spoken or listen before they speak. Those men have restraint and discipline and just a lot of things that, you can miss. That like, it's almost like the things that don't show up in the stats every night, on the stat sheet, but it's the little things that sort of, to use the sports ball analogy I'm going with here, that win the game. And so, yeah. And that's, again, like with our son, that's something I would hope to instill in him, is to have better discernment on, what to aspire to and, the types of behaviors and characteristics and, traits that you would want to model in yourself versus sort of the like, quintessential, like, bad boy with the fast car and the this and the that. It's just like, it's so silly. And so much of that I think we get from like the media we consume, the movies we watch, the shows we watch. We were just talking the other night about Boy Meets World and how like, in hindsight, we're like, wow, like Sean's character was like so unruly for like a 13-year-old. Like he was out there like making out with chicks and like sneaking out of his house. And
don't get me wrong, I love Boy Meets World. I mean, of course,
that's
like my show.
Topanga.
But yeah, when I watch it back now, I'm like, oh, like I was getting a lot of ideas from this show.
Yeah, seriously. I know, like you wonder why.
Bad
I was
ideas.
like, oh, that's why I was wiling out, because I was freaking watching.
Yeah, Boy Meets World's probably the least of the problematic things to watch, but there was definitely some things in there.
Yeah.
My next one was 18-year-old Grace, go to bed earlier.
Yeah.
When I think about like my 20s, I was just lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Always just going to bed so late, waking up so early.
Yeah.
I could have done that differently. I always thought like, let's burn the midnight oil, we'll get more done. But there was probably a lot of
diminishing
like lack
returns.
of productivity when I thought I was like getting more done. I probably should have just been sleeping.
Some of that might have been my fault, because we were like on the phone a lot, like, trying to keep the love going, what I'm saying? Keep the flame alive.
Yeah, I think the jobs I chose to work and the way I went about school, like college and things like that, I was working late and then studying really late, and I was just doing it wrong, doing it backwards. So yeah, I would say get some more sleep, girl. You need it. It'll help.
You're working
you out.
late because you were a singer.
Yeah.
What's up, Gen Z? I know what you listen to. Oh God. I would tell myself around this age, shave those sideburns, dude. What are you doing? That's like, I saw in prep, I was like looking back at photos, trying to like put myself into the 18-year-old mindset. And I'm like, dude, this kid had just like thick, like, okay, it's one thing when you have, hair that is connecting to a beard, like so, right?
Yes.
That's fine. I just had these unruly like bacon strips just like taped to the side of my head.
No.
Yeah, just like dark, thick, big nose, right? And so I would just bring a clipper and just be like, let me fade, like, give you a little fade, bro. little flick and take care of that. Man. So yeah.
That's funny.
Sometimes you just don't know.
You don't.
Yeah.
You know, you're walking with the light that you have.
Yeah. Oh, God, help
Okay.
us.
I would also tell my young self to eat more, along with the lack of sleep.
Yeah.
I think that maybe my budget was slim. I just wasn't eating enough.
The way my bank account
I think about, like, I went to school for nutrition, for dietetics, and I think during school and before school, I just wasn't properly fueling my body.
Yeah.
It wasn't even necessarily intentional. It was just like, oh, one meal today, that's all right. Just like survival mode, I'm like having a small flashback to my 20s and like being in a car where the air conditioning broke and like sweating on the way to work, hungry. You're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have been like, let's figure out a way to get more meals into your day.
Yeah.
Carry some snacks around with you.
Yeah.
That was a problem. But, I went to school for nutrition and figured it out.
Yes. Yeah. I would tell now, maybe we're just sort of like sliding into the mid-20s or something like that,
Yeah.
I would tell this kid, did you know that you can get your clothes tailored? Ooh. That's what I would say, right? Like sometimes like, you sometimes, you go to the store and you're kind of like, oh, I'll just grow into it. But you're like fully
like
grown.
23.
Yeah. You're fully grown. There's no more chance. And you buy the shirt anyways because it's like, you're at H&M or wherever and you're just like, yeah, this is cool. And like, I can make this work.
Yeah.
It clearly didn't fit, but you're just like, I've got bad judgment because I'm like in my early 20s. And so
I think we both could have like done a little trip to Plato's Closet.
yeah.
Brought a bag or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
upgraded.
Home, bring a bag,
closet.
leave with a bag, if you know what I'm saying. 1750. Don't let me get that money, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, they're like, we'll take 2 of these 100 items.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. We
Yeah.
probably could have updated our closets a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
You live and learn.
you're living on that budget.
And actually, if I can just kind of double up, how
Yep.
you were talking about like, AC problems a
Yeah,
little bit ago.
broken AC.
Yeah, that's another one. I would tell, 26 or 7-year-old Gabe to just get the AC fixed in that 93 Chrysler Concorde. My goodness. So I don't know what, I guess like the estimate was like, sky high for me. And I just was like, oh, this is like my whole net worth. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, get a loan.
Yeah, dude.
Make
And
it
I just,
happen.
just ask somebody basically. So I would just show up to places like fully sweating. Like my back would be soaking wet. I would show up.
Florida, man, you can't.
Yeah. And like people would be like, what's up, bro? Give me that like one-armed hug. Like, oh, dude, sorry, man. So the thing about it is, and I'd have to explain awkwardly that like,
but you'd also still like have a beanie on.
yeah,
Like
still,
sweating.
yeah, exactly. I literally got to the point where I would drive. This is so embarrassing, with a towel and like put it up the back of my shirt because I knew that I would show up like sopping.
Wow.
But like summertime probs, not what I'm saying? Like it's just, it is what it is. That's another one. Be a better steward of your stuff, guy. Come on.
Yeah, come on. For sure.
Dang.
Your mentor could have told you that.
Where was my mentor, dude?
Where was your mentor when you needed him?
Gosh.
All right, so now we're moving on to our 30-year-old self, which, for some of us wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some of us kind of was.
But 30-year-old self, we said, is kind of like that real deal adult. 20-year-old, your 20s, you're figuring it out, right?
Yeah, 30s, you probably got a
30s, it
mortgage.
starts to set in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell your 30-year-old self?
This one hits. I would tell him, you are not behind. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I would make sure to point out that like that thought is going to come up a lot. That's going to bubble up in you a lot, and it's just a distraction. Ignore it. Recognize that you are exactly where you need to be, and that this sense of like timeline or deadline or all of that, it's just such a conjured comparison type of thing.
So true.
That steals your joy. And And, you know, truly now at 38, I could really say that, like, man, I was doing fine. Like, I don't know why I thought that, but that was I think when you like leave your 20s, there's all this pressure of like, oh my God, now I'm an old man and I'm not where I thought I would be, but I was just getting started. I'm like, dude, that was one of the best years of your life. And, or it's, I guess if I'm still using the proper tense, like this is going to be one of the best years of your life. And just, you know, lock in and enjoy and be present.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Man, thinking about 20s versus 30s, I just have to say, I really enjoyed my 20s, and I feel like I lived well. There were definitely things I could have done better and things I needed to hear, but generally speaking, there was a lot of good things about my 20s. I really enjoyed them. I married you at 25.
Oh, hey, what's up?
But
Merry Christmas.
I will say like 30s, I think of it as real deal adulthood, because there's this humility, I think, that comes when you hit your 30s where you're like, oh, I do not have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I would tell my 30-year-old self, you can try to do everything the right way, and sometimes it still won't go to plan. And that's okay. I'm the type of person that's like, show me the lines so I can color in them. Like, I want to know the right way to do it, and I don't want to mess it up.
Yes.
And so I think definitely in my 30s, I had a few things where I was like, I'm going to get this right. Like, I'm going to do this the right way.
Yeah.
And tried to take the steps of preparation to not mess up.
Sure.
And just do everything I could to do something a particular way.
Yeah.
And then it just doesn't go that way.
Yep.
And so, when I think about, just to share something that may be relatable for some of the listeners, whether you have a very similar situation or just something else that kind of lines up with this idea. But, you know, we talk about our fertility journey. When I turned 30, it was like, all right, let's try to have a baby. And shortly after that, we started trying to conceive and running into some of those unexpected issues. But all along the way, I had come from working as a dietitian in sort of a maternal health clinic. And so I was encountering women on the daily who were having babies and freshly postpartum. And so I was getting this glimpse into, okay, like, this is how I want things to go. This is when it can be really tough. And so what are the things that I can do to prepare my body to have a successful pregnancy, have a successful childbirth, all these things. And so, of course, I'm like in the mode of like prepping and eating all the right things and moving my body all the right ways and seeing this specialist for this and that, and just gathering my people, my midwives and my doulas and all the things to have the type of birth experience that I think is the best.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we go about it in that way when we finally do get pregnant. Again, all of those unexpected years of waiting. And I just think, okay, well, now I'm going to get to have the birth that I've always wanted. And so, you know, working with a particular facility and, you know, like I said, midwives, doula, all the things, educating both me and my partner. So we're ready to do it this way. And while the birth experience was wonderful and did go a way I hoped and imagined for the labor, when it came time to pushing and having the baby, delivering the baby, things did change. And I ended up having a cesarean birth, which was so not my plan. And I don't think it's many people's plans going into childbirth. Usually that ends up happening for some other reason. A lot of times it happens unnecessarily, and I knew that and really wanted to avoid that. And it ended up that when I had the cesarean, we were actually in need of having my ovary removed because I had some issues over the years, and we didn't know the condition of it, but it needed to get out of my body, basically, to spare you all the details. But had we not had the cesarean procedure, we wouldn't have been able to get that out, wouldn't have known, and it could have caused way more problems down the road. So processing the birth, postpartum, and just in prayer, my resolve was like, wow, I really felt like God was showing me that he had a higher picture and a higher perspective, that yes, I was praying for this one type of birth and it went a different way, but that experience happened and he saw me in it and he knew what needed to happen. I feel like he allowed things to happen a particular way for my good.
Absolutely.
And we do believe like God works all things together for the good of those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. Like he is moving in the mishaps. And so moving in the mishaps, but
Grace's autobiography coming out this fall.
But no, I really see his hand there, and I do have peace now about how that happened. But that's a lesson that I'm learning now, you know, just going through something like that. And I think it would just be helpful to go back to that 30-year-old Grace and just be like, hey, you can do all these things. This is great. Preparation is good. It's good to put in effort, but it's okay if it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, because it's kind of like you're praying like, God, my will, or God, this is what I want you to do. But ultimately your will be done. And when that is the heart posture, like palms up, okay, God, I trust you more than I trust myself, then sometimes things go differently and it's hard, but it's good. And so that's in summary, what I think I've needed to hear.
That's real good.
And I continue to tell myself that because I know that there's more lessons to come in that arena.
That's good. Yep. Your will be done. And then you got to be prepared for what that will is and looks like.
It's tough.
So mine, I have a couple left. The next one here was just to double down on daily disciplines. So many D's in there. Double down on daily discipline.
I know. I feel like we got some book titles.
You know, and my angle to this is that, again, if I'm telling 30-year-old Gabe this, like the more freedom you get, let's say as like the business grows and as you're delegating and so on and so forth, the more you'll need to see and set your own deadlines. And the more that like consequences for not doing those things, like waking up a certain time, will actually lessen. You know, we've talked about that before, that like that's sort of the underbelly sometimes of entrepreneurship and working from home and sort of setting your hours, is like no one's really over your shoulder, you know, checking in and being like, hey, did you spend this many hours on sales today versus this many hours? And, you know, and so I think there was a season there in kind of my early 30s where I found myself having a little bit more time, a little bit more freedom, but also sort of like seeing discipline, you know, Dwayne. And so, Dwayne, is that even a word? Did I just make up
Dwayne?
I saw my discipline, Dwayne.
It was going down the Dwayne.
It was going down the Dwayne. Yeah. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Dwayne.
Dwayne who?
Dwayne the bathtub, I'm drowning. Wayne, dwindle? Those are the two words? Dwindle and Wayne. There it is.
Dwindle and Wayne. Make Dwayne.
Where's the coffee shop? It's on Dwindle and Wayne. Anyways, my second to last one was you did it.
You tell him you did it.
You did it.
You did what?
You landed Grace Sullivan. And you changed her last name.
Oh,
my
don't
guy.
Make me blush.
Oh. Seriously, that's a pretty big one.
That's sweet. Yeah.
I would be like, dude, pound it. And I couldn't say really like I told you so, because I would be like from the future, you know, but I would just be like, it just gets better from here. So
it's awesome.
Yeah. This was a super fun trend. I'm glad we jumped on, and
yeah, we took it to a whole nother level. I mean, we were meeting with like 3 versions of ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. We were like time traveling. Like,
oh yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
I got to ask you before we go, what would your 13-year-old self be ordering at the coffee shop?
Oh gosh, just probably something heinous like a freaking frappuccino, you know, like just like sugary, no coffee in it whatsoever, like for just you know, strawberry vanilla frap or something like
bean.
That. Yeah, vanilla bean. Yeah, just,
come on, extra whip.
Yeah, just bad. So.
All right.
Well, episode 4, just like that.
Episode 4 is in the books. So if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, please subscribe. We'd love to have you there. Leave a comment. Tell us what your drink of choice would have been at the coffee shop we're all imagining in our heads. And that's all for this time. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time for Quality Time with
Gabe
and Grace.
All right.
Time to love again. My time for love is here. Bye.